The first two slides are actually repeat from the first presentation, just to get everybody back up to speed. The 24 budget, what it was, okay? The fact that we had an income less than the budget amount. Oh, wrong. I don't have the presentation, John.
What? Oh.
Okay, thank you. You know, the budget for 24 was, and this, going back a little bit, 370,000. Our actual income was 347. Our expenses in 24 were 372. So we had a shortfall. And as a result, we had to reduce the budget for this year. So when you look at 25, we had a projected income. We told you we did that by looking at the pledge cards and adding those up. And then we also, for anybody that didn't submit a pledge card, we also then took their income from the prior year and just added it in, as if it's going to stay the same. That's where we came up with the 271,000. We had a budget for 25, which we projected having a shortfall of 32,000. We were optimistic that the Lord will provide, and as it works out, He has. The budget has decreased by 65,000 overall. So that's a repeat from last time. Questions? Okay? So how are we doing? The answer is great. Thank you very much. We're at a point where we think it's going to go pretty well for this year. That's a chart that shows you the actual income by month. And then it shows you last year and this year. Okay, so you should have that. And then you've got a slide that gives you a little bit more detail. So what are we looking at? Total income is projected at 204,000, that's for 7 months. Okay, for 7 months the income is projected at 204, which is 6.8% above the same period last year.
Don, I don't think the microphone's working right.
Okay. It's not. All right, now we're on? Okay. So the income is projected to be higher based upon what we're seeing for the first 7 months. And that's pretty good, because we didn't have a town hall until later after the beginning of the year. Income did go up. When we look at the projected income for 25, we're looking at 351,000, which is above our pledged estimate. Okay. Total income is also above our 25 budget, which is 304. Projected income of 351,000 is above the 24 income, not by a lot, but at least it's above it. We had 67 members increase their contributions this year. So kudos to everybody that was able to do that. We've got 9 members that have given over $5,000 in the first 7 months. Okay. What do I do with the clearance? So what do we need to do now? That's the question, I think, that, you know, I'd like to share with you and discuss a little bit about it. If you have not submitted the pledge card for 25 and you'd like to do so, Stan has those in the back, and you're welcome to, you get that, or Suzanne is holding them up. If you need one, we'd be happy to provide them. Also, if you have changed your pledged amount, we know based on what we're seeing with contributions, we think some people have. It would be nice to have that down so we can officially assume it's going to come in. Cindy would like to have those. So if you changed your amount or you would like to submit one and you haven't, please do so. Okay? If you have decided to increase your pledge, obviously we'd like to see that. One question that's come up, and this was raised by a few people, and I'll let Cindy actually comment on this. You want to explain what happened with the 6-month statements?
Yeah. So we have a software system where we track your donations so that we can do the regular statements that we send out. And one of the things that has not been happening in this church is we've not been entering, other than during the period when we did the capital campaign for this building, we haven't entered the pledges. So this year it was decided that it would be a good idea that if a pledge card or a commitment card was submitted, to put it on the statement. The problem is because it was done mid-year, the total amount is on there, but some people said, I've been giving, why does it say 0% of my pledge has been met? That's because I can't go back to January 1st to reflect that. But the decision was made that it's important for people to be reminded on those statements what they committed to. And so hopefully next year we will have the pledge cards before January 1st. I can get them in the system and we can get that so that it will reflect where you are in your giving. But if, for the 6-month statements, if you gave, say, $3,600, half of that would be $1,800. You can kind of calculate it in your head because you at least have the benchmark of where you were aiming for. So it's there to try and help give you information as to where you stand with your giving. Sometimes, we get a little bit behind, or sometimes we get a little ahead. This will at least give you some way of knowing where you are, and hopefully next year we'll have that working so that it'll tell you where you are as we go along.
Thank you. Questions on that? Okay, so hopefully we'll be a little bit better with that next year. Okay. What does all this mean right now? We're not anticipating having to reduce the budget. When we had our first town hall, my biggest fear was I'd have to come back to you and say we got to cut the budget further. And frankly, I didn't want to cut it where it needed to be cut at that point. But fortunately, we're not going to have to. We anticipate making up the $32,000 shortfall, and we may be, this is a big question, may be in a position to restore some of our outreach funding by year end. So we'll have to see where that ends up, but that's one of my hopes, that we might get to that point again. We've made tremendous progress in a few short months, but more is needed. So I would encourage you to take a look at your giving. Also, I would encourage you, if you happen to be one of the members that we have that is currently not contributing, to consider contributing, okay? Because every little bit helps, and it just adds up over time. So give it some thought. Questions? Wow, you're a quiet group this morning. Okay, thank you for your stewardship and for time, talent, treasures you've been giving. We've made good progress. We just need to continue, okay? If we don't continue, then we're going to have problems. So, all right? Okay, so what else do we need? We need volunteers, all right? We got a lot of committees that are running short. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on that, some of the committee chairs or other people, but anybody wants to say anything, feel free. Consider, participating. You don't have to, when you sign up for something, it doesn't mean, if you sign up for ushering, it doesn't mean you're gonna do it every week, okay? If you sign up for fellowship, that doesn't mean you gotta come in and make coffee every week. You can do it one Sunday a month, you can do it one Sunday a quarter, do it whenever, your schedule permits. So consider volunteering for single events. We need to improve our financial stewardship by $60,000 or more to get back to the 24 level budget. Okay, so that's where we're looking at for that. And how do we do that? Our attendance has been flat. It's been flat for about 3 years. And when you look at month over month, we're not gaining, we're not really losing. We are losing some, but we're replacing them with a few new members here and there. And that's great. But we really need to increase the members to do a whole lot of growth. So you're going to see some more emphasis on that this year. How do we do it? Could do some different ways. Pastor, any comment?
Well, I always do.
Yeah, okay.
I won't take but a minute here. One of the things that has been a reality is that when COVID hit us and we shut down, we were pretty much reaching close to capacity in that sanctuary. And then for the 6 months or so that we remained closed, people kind of found other ways to worship, mainly online. And we saw quite a high number of people were turning into our streams. Then when we reopened, we got back to where we currently are, and that's that maybe we're half of where we were pre-COVID. That's not unusual as I talk to my colleagues throughout Central Florida. The same phenomenon has occurred. people have adopted online church viewership as an alternative. It's more difficult to measure that. So, what are we doing about it? Well, we've had to change strategies. Whereas we previously had been advertising in the newspaper, in the Village Sun, at a very costly amount each month, we have since shifted over with the wonderful help of Emily in the office and Angie Burke now with PR efforts, such that we are getting a much better social media visibility out there. And that's kind of the name of the game these days. We're seeing quite a number of people responding to our Facebook posts that we hadn't seen before, and we're going to continue that. And you noticed not very long ago, there was an article in the Village Sun about the yoga here. That was really more about the church than it was yoga. And it served to bring in, I think, a half a dozen new people. I know Emily got quite a number of phone calls. So we're going to continue on the attendance front to elevate our social media presence. But as I've said before, there is no strategy that's better than current satisfied members inviting friends and neighbors. That happens here a few times, and we are deeply appreciative of it. So I ask you just to be vigilant. I've got new neighbors moving in, or if you have friends that you're aware of that are not churched or might be looking for a church, ask them. It's the most effective way to get people here.
Thank you.
Hot Sunday's always a winner. We can give them food too.
Yes.
Did everybody hear that, Potluck Sunday?
Oh, go ahead, Gary.
Feed your soul and your belly.
Yeah. So it sounds like as we move forward, our main mission is growth so we can do more as a church. Now, in the past, we've talked about certain things have been priorities to meet these missions. Well, some of them were priorities for maintenance even, and things that we saw as important that we had to get done, but also some other priorities that may be more for growth. I would only suggest that we set some of those out there going forward, specific things that we can look at as a church that we might not be able to do right now, but we're working toward them, and what things are most important to work toward. Pastor just talked about, talking to our friends and neighbors and that type of thing, but other things that we can do for the church. And we always find those, I think, if we can look at specific things to reach out to, I think that can be advantageous.
I agree, and you're going to hear more about that at the, yes, you're going to hear more about that in a little bit. We're going to talk about it at the council retreat this year, trying to prioritize stuff. We had to, as many of you will remember, we had the wish list a couple years ago, and we prioritized that. Unfortunately, most of those items required money, and money was one thing we didn't have. We talked about a music director, we talked about a sign out front, we talked about some other things. But, bottom line was we just didn't have the finances to support any of it, so we kind of shelved it for the time being. But it's time to take another look, and it's also time to take a look and see what can we do. If we're going to grow the church, we can keep asking you folks to contribute more money, okay? But the truth of the matter is we're all on some type of restricted income of some fashion. Life situation changes, okay? People pass on. We lose those members and we lose their contributions. They move, they get sick, spouses die, lots of things happen. And we're at an age where that's something we've got to look at and anticipate happening. So the only really way to grow the church is to get new people in the door and get more people coming in. And that's going to be a big focus, is what all can we do to do that? So you'll hear a little bit more about it, but that's going to be at the retreat. Go ahead.
I guess what I'm thinking is that the membership did express some of that a couple years ago, as you said, in priority. You said it was put on a shelf, and I understand that, but don't we just kind of resurrect that? And
We resurrect that, and we also look at some other changes to that. As we've done more research, we found, for example, you'll hear, we're not gonna get into this too much today, but I'll just share a little bit with you. A lot of young people are starting to come back to the church. When I say young, I'm talking about, singles, not married, that type of thing. What can we do to attract them? What can we do with our music program to maybe entice them? There's different things that we can look at, and that's one of the big problems or challenges for the council at the retreat this year is to then look at those items. And it's fine to come up with the ideas. Okay, we had lots of ideas last time. But when you're running a budget that's $50,000 under anticipated expenses, and you got some other expenses coming up too. There's some slides in here. I'll just cover it now while we're talking. Has anybody heard about drywood termites? No. You heard about those? Yeah, we got those, okay? How about that? We found some in the pantry in the back, only on one shelf. We think it's related to baskets, so we're getting rid of the baskets. That was just, sorry?
They're gone.
They're gone, yes. We'll see if they show up again, but as I understand it, the eggs go into the wood when the shelving and so forth is made. And then they come out at any time they so desire. It can be years later. In our case, that shelving was put in when the church was built. It's about 5 years plus old. Termites came out, either out of the shelving or out of the baskets. We're not sure where. You might say, well, can't you spray for them? The answer is no. You could tent the church and fumigate the entire church at a cost of $20-some thousand. And that only kills the live ones. It doesn't kill the ones that are still in the wood. The only way to get rid of the one in the wood is either seal off the edges or replace all the wood. So that's one thing. The other thing we're going to talk about, and I don't know where this slide's at in the deck, but you'll see it, is how many people are aware that we have not had wind and hail coverage for a couple of years? There's no wind and hail coverage on the church, okay? The last quote we got was for $22,000 with a $100,000 deductible, okay? And as a council, we decided that really wasn't going to work. So, so there's some major issues that we have to look at. You might say, well, why is that so expensive? Well, it's the way the church is built. The church is built with what's called EIFS construction. So you look at the outside and you see stucco and you think, well, there's probably block behind that. And the answer is it's not. You've got foam board behind that, okay? So you've got metal studs going up, you've got foam board attached to the metal studs, and you've got stucco sprayed on top of that. Insurance companies don't like it because when the wind blows, the rain has a tendency to penetrate the surface. Then it goes in, and guess what it does to the metal studs? Water and metal.
Rust.
Exactly. So insurance companies don't like that kind of construction. Even though the building is rated for a level 5 hurricane, it's rated very well, windows are all rated and so forth. We're in one of the safest zones in the state of Florida from a damage standpoint. But even with all that, that's what the cost of the wind and hail coverage is. So we're looking at some other options, but you've got some of that stuff going on in the background that everybody needs to be aware of. Questions? Okay. We have a new idea we're thinking about, okay, to help save some money, change things a little bit. Dave, you want to come on up and talk about it? Yeah. You and Joe?
All righty, a member of the congregation came up to me and had an idea of us doing our own lawn service, which is a great idea. Can you hear it?
No, hold it up.
Hold it out.
How about now? Anyway, the member did come up to me. He's gonna donate the tractor, donate the trailer. We do all the lawn, we cut all our lawn, especially the stuff in the back. We've been cutting that now once every other month, just to be good neighbors to the community in the back. So what we're doing is looking for volunteers. We'd like to have at least 10 people. And it's a commitment, you're talking in the summer, being here once a week, every month. We like to have 2 people here at a time just for safety reasons. One guy on the back cutting the grass with the tractor, another guy up here with a push lawnmower doing all the trimming, the weed whacking, and the blowing of the grass cuttings. So if anybody's interested, talk to Joe. Joe and I are the ones trying to organize this. So talk to us. If we can get 10 people, we'll do this, and we can save quite a bit of money through the year. My biggest fear is the landscaper we have now is a very good guy. So we get into this, we start doing it ourselves. 4 months down the road, people start losing interest. We might not get our landscaper back. Then we gotta find somebody else who might be more expensive. So it's a big commitment. We'd like at least 10 people. If you feel that you can do it, I know we're an older congregation, we are all getting older, but it would save us quite a bit of money through the year.
Dave, how much is this?
What is the savings?
It would save us over 13,000. Right now, for him cutting the back, he charges $275 every other month. So otherwise, it's $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, so a little over $13,000. So, but like I say, the guy that's gonna buy the tractor and donate all this, you're talking quite a bit of money too, so we don't wanna cut him short. So
How often do you mow it?
right now in the summertime, you're gonna mow it once a week. And the back, we're gonna keep up with
I know, but once a week on this area.
this whole area, and then the back right now with
And
the
in the
landscape.
wintertime, you go to 2 weeks, or?
No, in wintertime,
10 days?
grass doesn't grow that fast. We'll have to figure that out. I don't cut my grass at all in wintertime,
Well, what I was wondering is what he does.
He does it as it's needed.
as needed, yeah, in the wintertime.
It could be once every 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks, it depends on the growing season.
Okay.
Yeah. But normally,
Does he still get paid, or does he get paid as needed?
he gets paid when he cuts the grass.
Okay.
He charges us, matter of fact, I just seen the receipt today. He cut grass 5 times this month, 5 weeks in a month. So he charges that, plus the one mowing in the back, the $275.
Okay.
So in the wintertime, maybe he only cuts it once, maybe he cuts it twice.
We still charge us $1,000 a month in the wintertime.
Yeah,
Does he do any treating of weeds or insects or anything?
We have a separate contract
Okay.
for treating the bugs around the building. There is no sprinkler system for this property, so you can't really do much with fertilizer or anything like that. He also does do the tree trimming that's needed, bush trimming, he puts down the straw, he does the weed whacking, so that type of stuff would have to be done by the team as well. The big concern is getting volunteers that are gonna be enough to keep it going, sustain it. And I got 2 concerns over this. One is if the teams fall apart, can we get him back? Because he's also the guy that does our cleaning, okay? His wife's business is cleaning, so she does that. And the other bigger concern is, in my mind, is if we have a member going out, put out that type of money to buy tractors, equipment, and all that, and then it falls apart, they're stuck with a used tractor, it's like a used car, you drive it off the lot, the value's gone down. So, and I happen to know the member, I don't know that they have a need for that at their house, so they're buying strictly for the church.
Oh,
Yes.
Peter, you take that.
Oh, okay,
I got one more
yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Are we gonna continue doing the back like once every other month, or do you want it done all the time now?
No, once every other month is fine.
Once every-
I mean, legally, we don't have to do anything with the back. Periodically, we get complaints from our neighbors. And I think as a good neighbor, we decided, you know what, we ought to keep the weeds down a little bit. So, once every other month is sufficient. They seem to be satisfied with that, it's de minimis type of thing for us to do it. But, do we have to do it at all? No, we could technically let it go wild. I don't think it'd be the right thing to do.
Do we own everything back to their fence?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you also got, just so you're aware, some people have said, well, you could sell that back property, and the answer is yes, we could. Okay, it's a complicated situation because it's included in our mortgage and other things. But then the other part of it is we have a pumping station located back there. So we have to maintain that that gets done quarterly or so. So that pumping station may have to be, if we sell the property, would have to be relocated. So that's another expense. And then we've got the runoff, the pond that never has water in it in the back, a great big hole, okay? That was required for drainage purposes when the church was built and for that property. So Then you get into the question, if you sell the level stuff in the back, what do you do with that drainage? Are we gonna have to maintain it? Did that become drainage for that property? What do we have to do with that? Because, you know, it's fine to fill it up with water, but then you gotta treat it if the water's sitting in there too long. So it's not a simple solution to just say, well, we'll sell it. Questions? Yeah.
Just a curious question, where would the tractor stuff be stored? Do we have to build a building here?
No, the answer is the person is willing to donate it, will transport it for us weekly, and will store it for us.
Okay.
So that's quite a commitment. That's the reason I'm saying it. I would only want to leave this person high and dry if we suddenly decide, oh, no, it's too much, we can't do it. Yeah, Beth?
Is there a possibility that we can keep the fellow to do the landscaping, the trees and that type of thing? Keep him on at a different rate?
Oh, we can split it any way we want. The question becomes,
What I'm saying is, I'm thinking because it's easy enough for us to get together to try to cut grass. But to cut and trim trees and all that stuff, that gets a little bit strenuous for some of us.
okay. Well, and
So it's a thought.
that's something that the team could look at. I think the first step is, do we have at least 10 able-bodied volunteers that are willing to make that commitment? If we've got that, we can look further.
What about the guy that donates the stuff supposed to bring him? What if he goes to the hospital? If he can't do that any longer?
That's another question, okay? We'd have to.
Well, there's a backup, in case he's not here,
Okay.
somebody else will bring it, so there is a backup for that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
The generous person that's going to provide the tractor and the equipment for mowing,
Uh-huh.
has he given any thought to just donating that amount to that for the maintenance? I don't know how long that would.
That's a decision that individual would have to make.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has anyone
They
asked
approached
him?
us and said, this is what I'm willing to do, and we're raising it as a concern here because
That's only 8
we
months of.
need the volunteers. If we don't have the volunteers, it's not gonna be good.
She made a point, they may already own it.
Yeah, they may,
Okay.
but in this case, I know they don't. Yes. Bev, you had another question?
No, I said I'm willing to help, but I don't know about driving the tractor.
So
I haven't done that
Bev,
in
we can
years.
sign you up for weed whacking?
No.
I could at least blow the grass.
I'm just teasing. Okay.
I can help. No kidding.
All right.
I can push a lawnmower.
Give it some thought, and if you think you're interested, talk to Dave or to Joe. Those two are heading it up, and they'll talk to you about it. Okay? All right.
I go goofy. Same thing.
Okay, we've talked a little bit about here, and I'd like to spend a little bit of time on this. I've already covered the wind and hail, so we're not going to do that. We talked about the east construction. But restoring some of our outreach, I think, is critical. And that's really what our mission is as a church. And we talked about attracting new members. One thing I think a lot of us, we made dramatic cuts to the Senate contributions this year. And I'd like for Pastor to speak for a moment on what does that really mean to us and to the church as a whole.
The budget, and first of all, let me use this moment to offer an abundant thank you to Don, Mary Walls, Connie, anybody that labored over that budget preparation last year, sweating bullets over the cuts that had to be made. There was no choice. And so one of the things that became a victim was the contributions to the Senate from 13,000 to 3,000, something like that. About 10,000 was cut. That strikes very close to my heart as a pastor. In all the years that I've been here or anywhere, we've never had to reduce the budget to the Synod. Now let me explain what is a Synod. The church is comprised of three components. The local church, which is us, the Synod, which is the Florida Bahamas Synod, and 65 others around the country, and then the global church, the Lutheran World Federation, and so forth. The reach that we have is limited to our local activities. The ability to spread Christ's love across the Florida Bahamas Synod is being done by the Synod and their multiplicity of programs that touch everything from homelessness to abused children and women, to hunger issues, to dealing with churches that are financially in trouble, to deal with the transition of pastors such that churches continue to have pastoral leadership. It goes on and on and on, the things that they do for us that we don't typically get a chance to see. Well, when they have reduced finances, then they are reduced in the impact that they can make. I just want us to be cognizant of the fact that when we are not participating in the church on the broader level, we are reducing the impact that we are making in Christ's kingdom. We are limiting the amount of impact that we can make as a congregation to those that are in need. We do a wonderful job for the outreach activities that we do here, but we can't reach into the far reaches of the Synod for all the things that go on there. I have a document here that basically says, what does the Synod do? And I think we've distributed it in the past. We'll do it again, just to remind us. For me as a pastor, it's a priority that we are participating in the broader church in an effective way. Now, that's not to say that we're not appreciative of what you all have been given. My guess is you have not been aware of what your donation dollars do with regard to the broader church. And so we want to narrow that gap and make you more aware of it such that the Holy Spirit will touch you in regards to how you feel called to be a part of that broader ministry. When we applied for a mortgage way back when, Joe, you may remember this, one of the things that we had to do was to put together a mission plan. And that mission plan still exists. I think it's got some dust and moss around the edges, needs to be revitalized. But we had to convince our lender that we had a way forward. And then one of the things that they said to us at the time, it wasn't a precondition, but it was sort of a handshake that we would work towards a 10% donation to the Synod. I think the highest we've ever gotten is maybe 4 or so. So I'm just making you aware of what I feel as the primary responsibility of the church relative to the broader definition of what the church is. There are plenty of churches around, like non-denominational churches that function in a silo, that take care of themselves, and maybe a few things around their immediate area. But one of the values of the church as we exist as the ELCA is not only our local reach, but our synodical reach and our global reach. The monies that flow through congregations flows upwards and impacts programs all around the world. And I'm sure you don't get a lot of information about the Lutheran World Federation and the work that it does globally. But it couldn't do its work if the collective donations from churches all across the United States and the world weren't enabling them to do that kind of work. So I just bring it up to you as a matter of priority from my point of view, such that I know personally we, Sharon and I, are donating directly to the Synod an additional amount of money on a monthly basis, because I feel that kind of a responsibility to Christ's kingdom and Christ's call to be the church. So it's kind of a heavy message, but you hadn't heard it before. John?
2 questions. donations we would make to ELCA World Hunger or Disaster Recovery, is that going up to the global
That
church,
goes-
or is that handled by the synod?
That depends on how individual donors are making that donation. And I'd have to defer to
The
Cindy
Synod.
and Mary.
The
that-
Synod level,
Yeah.
Synod level,
Mary said the Senate level,
Florida Bahama
goes
Synod.
to Florida Bahamas. Synod.
Even if it's made out to ELCA World Hunger?
Yeah,
I-
or just World Hunger.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I think I've been sending it
we
to the
don't
Synod.
have direct communication links with Lutheran World Federation and Hunger, World Hunger.
Right.
So it flows through the church and then it's bundled up and forwarded from the synodical level.
Oh, we get mailings every other week from ELCA World Hunger and Disaster Relief.
Right, but when you
But that
respond
goes direct to
But that's
them.
how our Synod.
through the Senate,
It doesn't go through the church. I haven't.
well,
I need to look
if
at my
you are sending it directly to them, then that's a direct contribution. But
That's,
we,
what I'm getting to is, should we be making these kind of contributions through the church? Is there a way to, like, designate,
yes,
like we do for the Bishop family?
Yes.
Yes, yes. When a donation's received for World Hunger, it goes into World Hunger. Then Mary knows that that money's designated for World Hunger. So.
When I
then-
when I send the money to the Synod, they got a thing in there for World Hunger, and I put that amount on there, and then I send it. Like this month, I
Okay.
send everything that we collected last month.
And I would encourage you to, I agree with Pastor, support the groups that you want to support. But just remember, when you designate a fund to go to the Senate or to something else, it doesn't help us with our budget, okay? So if you notice, we've done a few less specialty fundraisers this year, and there's a reason for that. Historically, when we have done those, people will, if pastor stands up in front and says, I'd like to have money contributed for summer camp or whatever, you're very generous, everybody will support it. But at least half of that money is deducted off of normal contributions and rediverted. So it doesn't help the church budget, it helps that charity. And that's fine, but I mean, that's the reason we've done less of that this year, is to try to avoid that. Yes?
Okay, I still don't quite understand. Take the Bishop family.
Correct.
Is there something in the church budget itself for the Bishop family for 25?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then, what happens to people, because I see some of it, who designate funds direct for the bishop?
Then it
Does
goes,
that get
it goes,
subtracted?
no, it goes directly to the bishop fund. It does not count towards the
In
general
addition
fund.
to.
In addition to
In addition,
into what
addition
the
to
church
the
budgeted.
Yeah. So the church has a budget, then any special contribution you make goes above and beyond that. Okay?
John, let me make a comment. If you give to the Bishop Fund, write it on your check or whatever, we capture that money as donated to Rock of Ages Lutheran Church, but we send that money to the Bishop family. Isn't that right, Cindy?
Yes.
Yes, we capture it, and Mary knows how much every
Right,
week
right.
it is, and then she adds that to the budgeted money.
So
Yeah.
the issue really is, does it count to the budget? It is included as our income, but the expenditure does not go to anything at Rock of Ages Lutheran Church, except the Bishop Fund, which is an outreach ministry of ours.
And that's not used to offset church contribution, that's an
Yeah,
addition.
it's in addition.
It flows through our finances, but it doesn't, on the envelope, it says general, building, missions, bishop ministry, right? So what goes into that general line item is what we're talking about for budgeted monies, okay? Those other things are what we call pass-through, means we collect it, it passes through us to go to the intended recipient.
So it shows up on your statement.
So
on
it
the
shows up
tax
on your
statement.
statements because you've given it, but only the line item general is what goes towards
Our budget.
the budget.
Yeah, Bev.
Okay, so I've been breaking mine up to do general fund, which is the church's fund, as well as the building fund. we're still putting all of that toward, I'm assuming it's going toward the principal or to our payment,
It's going
our
towards.
mortgage payment, right?
Yeah.
It's going to our mortgage payment.
In the past, we had been, using it towards the payment. We've never had enough to cover a payment.
Okay.
We talked about this in church council this week, and so starting in, let me see, what month are we in? It was for September, when I get the August financial statements and pay the September mortgage, anything that we collected for building will go to decrease the principal on our mortgage.
Okay.
And but we hadn't specifically been doing it that way, but
Okay, that's what I
going
was wondering.
forward,
Okay.
that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, going forward, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, we talked a lot about it, but come on up and finish talking about stewardship for 2026.
This is where everybody, when you mention the word stewardship, everyone kind of goes,
Well, I mean, we talked a lot about it, so.
Chris, go. I'm not gonna ask you for money, I'm gonna ask you for something much bigger. Good morning, everybody, how you doing? Okay, stewardship. Couple of things that I do want to talk about. We've already covered some of it. One of the things when I first became involved in stewardship is with my church up north, and it was several years ago. I don't want to say how many, because
Oh, come on.
I hate to admit I'm that old, but
They want to get you on camera. Slide over.
oh, they want to get me on camera too. I got to talk to the microphone.
Well, you know, just, you have a record of it.
Okay, am I on camera?
You're on camera.
Okay, and what I found out was when you mentioned stewardship, everyone thought of one thing, and that's money. Here's the thing about stewardship that I learned over the years, and it's very important to understand. Stewardship is not just a Sunday morning thing. It's 24/7, it's a way of life. The Bible, it's amazing what the Bible says about stewardship, and it's amazing how many verses in the Bible directly affect what stewardship is and how we should be approaching our lives from a standpoint of stewardship. It's time, it's talent, commitment, and it's also financial resources. That's definitely a part of it, but I don't like to take that part and use that as the main focus. It's a way of life, and whether you want to be or not, every single one of us is a steward all the time. Why? Because that's what the Bible tells us. It tells us to be stewards. We're going to have a stewardship. One of the mistakes we made last year with the estimate of giving cards, or whatever we're calling it these days, is we sent out a little card to everybody. And I think we sent out 92 units, if I remember correctly. We got just over half back. So I look at that as kind of a dismal failure, to be honest with you. I was very disappointed in that. So we're going to make some changes this year. The stewardship team is going to be meeting shortly. I'll talk about that in a minute. But we want to do something with those cards. We want to get some more information on there. And I'm going to ask you, and we're going to get them out a lot sooner than we did last year. I think we gave you 6 weeks last year to respond. Now this year we're going to give you over 2 months to respond. We're going to work on that card. Stewardship meeting's coming up very shortly. And if you're familiar with the Bible, I'm sure all of you are Bible readers, you know what the number 666 represents, right? Very devilish number, isn't it? Turn it upside down, what do you got? 9 months. Tomorrow starts the first 9. Tomorrow's September 1st, whether you're ready for it or not, it's here. The second 9 stands for the 9th of September. And the third number stands for 9 a.m. So on September 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning, right here, that's our next stewardship team meeting, and I'm inviting everybody to attend. Okay, and at that meeting, we're going to address this. We're going to address the cards. We're going to address what we're going to do. We're going to get them out here before the end of September, way before the end of September. And we're going to ask you to have them back by the first week in November. Why are we doing this? It gives us all plenty of time. I'm going to ask you not to give more money. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to ask you something bigger. I'm going to ask you to please pray on it. Think about it. Think about what God's done in your life. Think about all the blessings that you've received. We all go through hard times. We all have good times and good memories. Please use that time to think about what you want to do and how you want to approach 2026 as far as Rock of Ages is concerned. And if you do that, I think we'll be okay, because as I look out at this group of people, you've responded in every way that we've asked you to respond, and I know it's there. I know we can do it, and I know we can cut these numbers down to where they have to be. And I don't want to leave here without saying thank you for what you've done in the past, because you've been great in every aspect of it, in all 3 aspects, time, talent, and resources. You've hit it out of the park on each one, so thank you for that. And again, I ask you to seriously pray on it, think about it, so that when you turn that commitment card in, and I hope we get a lot more than the 48 we got last year. I hope we get a lot closer to that 92 number. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I don't envy the task that you're up against now with council and doing budgets. That's the one part of council I never liked in the years that I've served on council, both in my church up north and church down here. It's a big responsibility. It's a lot of work. And this information is very important for council to consider when they come up with the budget. This is information we really need from all our members. So I thank you for what you've done, and I pray that you'll pray on moving forward what you're going to do for the church and where we can take Rock of Ages. It's a great thing. We've got a great church. We've got a great pastor. Got a pretty nice building. You're the church, not the building. Okay, it's us, it's all of us. Okay, so thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
Okay.
Chris.
Thank you.
So, you're going to hear, we are doing things a little differently. And, one of the things I want to talk to you about is it's a saying that I used a lot in business when I was working. We can get back to the PowerPoint projection.
We are having a problem.
Okay.
John's
Well,
working on it.
John's working on that. So if you flip to the side with the picture of Einstein, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, okay? If we continue to function the way we've been functioning, we're probably not going to change, okay? It may change a little bit, but you're not going to have any dramatic changes. So what we're looking for is to be able to change some of this stuff a little differently. Now, if you go to the next slide, how many people here remember the Sears Wish Book? Show of hands, a little exercise, okay? Everybody remembers that, right? I know as a kid, I used to look forward to getting it, going through it, dog-earing pages, and marking all kind of stuff. And my guess is a lot of you probably did the same thing. Well, what you may not know is that when Amazon started, they went to Sears. And they said to Sears, we'd like to partner with you, or have you buy us and, take the Wish Book and make it electronic. At that point, Sears was a huge company, okay? If you go to the next slide, you see, they accounted for 1% of the gross domestic product of the country, okay? So they were a big player. And they, in their infinite wisdom, said, it's a fad, it's never gonna work, it's never gonna last, and they passed. Okay, what happened to Sears since then?
Downhill.
It went downhill all the way, right? So now you buy Craftsman tools at Walmart, okay? Whirlpool, you might buy at Lowe's or somewhere else. I mean, they've sold off their brands. It's pretty much non-existent compared to where they were. And they're not the only company. I mean, if you look at other ones, you've got a slide in there that talks about Motorola with cell phones. Motorola was the big player with cell phones. I know a couple of you work with Motorola. I don't know if you were involved with cell phones, but I mean, that was the premier cell phone. And what happened? Other people got into it, Motorola got out of it, okay? You had the same type of thing with IBM. IBM was the big PC maker to start out with. When your first PC was probably a Radio Shack or an IBM, okay? And what happened? They had their own operating system, didn't want to work with Microsoft, and went by the wayside, now owned by another company. I point those out to you not to scare you, but to say if we don't change as a church and embrace some changes, we could go away too, okay? We need to think about changing, and I'll be the first one to admit, I don't like change, okay? And I did a lot of research to figure out, okay, am I really that odd, or do most people really walk in? And the answer is no. Most people in our age brackets, like 70% plus, do not like change. So you're probably going to hear something in the next year or so that's going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to say, why are we doing that? Try to have a little bit of faith and be flexible enough to embrace it, because the council is going to be looking at some of this stuff, trying to figure out what can we do differently to get different results. And that's kind of what's going to happen. As a church, we need to adjust not our message, but our tactics. Okay? What are we doing? We're up. Okay. We're running that?
Sorry.
Sort of, kind of?
You're behind.
I'm behind.
Behind.
See if I can, okay, there's Einstein,
Oh.
everybody. Sears Wish Book,
6 more.
Sears, the Motorola, okay. Not our message, but our implementation and tactics, okay? What can we do a little different? So, church council retreat priorities. First of all, you know, we're going to look at how to develop, how can we strategize to get church membership, to get more members. Discuss how to improve and replace our stewardship program. There's two issues. One is attracting new members. The other thing is retaining members once we have them. I think you can all think back to some people that you knew attended and that are no longer attending. And some of those have moved. That's can be unavoidable. Some of them have passed on. That's unavoidable. Okay, but some have just left. And the question is why? What can we do to make sure they stay? I mean, they obviously thought enough to join, go through the classes, you know, make a commitment, but then they kind of disappear. So how do we get those people to re-engage with us? So stewardship program is one thing we'll focus on. Other activities to increase member and engagement. And then we're going to also, for the first time, develop the 26 budget at the council retreat. Historically, the church budget has been set by the president, the vice president, and the financial team. Pastor reviews it, and then it comes to council for approval, and then it goes from there to the congregational meeting for final approval. What happened when we reduced the budget this year is I got a lot of comments from team members and team leaders and even council members. Well, you cut this committee by this much money, or you cut this out, or you cut that out. Well, folks, we were sitting there and we had to cut something, okay? And the question was what? And my biggest fear was I'd have to cut again, because I knew what we'd have to cut the next time, and it wasn't going to be pretty. It would be something that would definitely impact you. So, you know, we did that as a small team, and Joe will tell you, we sat through, how many meetings, Mary? 4? At least?
At least.
At least. And then a meeting with Pastor. He didn't really beat us up too bad, but I can tell from his face he wasn't happy with it. But he understood the reality. The reality is we just didn't have the commitment for the money, and we had run a deficit for a couple of years, so it wasn't going to work. Continue. So we're going to do that at the council retreat. Everybody will have input, so we're going to ask all the teams to put together their budget before we go on retreat, so that your liaison will have the budget and be able to present it at the meeting. And then we'll finalize the budget at the meeting, and then we'll come back to you folks and share it with you. Okay? We're also looking at developing a formal gift policy. You've heard me talk about this a little bit before. Cindy is taking the lead on that, and she'll be talking about that a little bit. So what's going to be the same for 26? Well, we're going to do the pledge cards, but we're going to do them earlier so that they're in before the retreat. We're going to project income the same way, pledge cards and historical contributions. And then we're going to develop a projected income. So that's all the same. What's changing is the budget's going to be developed at the retreat, which is November 19th to the 21st. Okay? Council members are paying their own way, which is $210 per person, and we'll finalize the budget by 12/31/25. We're going to communicate the budget at another town hall meeting, assuming you want that, and we'll go through the budget in detail with you there. So I know in the past we've always put it up at the annual meeting. There hasn't been a whole lot of discussion. I want you folks to see the detail, what's behind, what went up, what went down, maybe what we added, what went away, whatever. So you'll get to see that in detail. Legacy Giving Team has been working with the Senate. This is one of the things where the Senate supports us. They have a very good program on setting up legacy giving. And we're going to look at implementing some of that and making it available to you folks. It'll be available through our website, and Cindy's going to be taking the lead on that. But what it means is a formal gift policy. So how do we, when somebody says, I want to give a gift, you know, I'll give you a bizarre example. What happens if somebody has a hobby farm and they say, you know what, kids don't want it, I want to leave it to the church. Do we want to accept a hobby farm? And if so, what do we want to do with it? Or if somebody says, I've got a marijuana store that's, you know, my kids.
Take it.
Kilka says he'll run it for us, no charge. You know, but I mean, those types of things we have to decide. Are we going to accept those kind of gifts, and if so, what are we going to do with them? So formal gift policy. And also making available use of potential gift opportunities. And Cindy's our facilitator. She's done this in a prior life, so she's worked with churches and charities to do this, so she knows what she's doing. And we're going to follow the Senate guidelines. So the tools are there. They've already been reviewed by the attorneys and that type of thing. So we're safe to go with that. How to avoid paying taxes? Who in here likes paying taxes? No. Okay. IRA contributions. This is something that if you're over 70 and a half, you can make contributions from your IRA directly to the church and avoid paying taxes. I'm not going to go into details of how to do that or what's required. If you think you'd be interested in doing it and you're not doing it, I would strongly suggest you consider it. And talk to Cindy. You could avoid some taxes and save yourself some money. And I just put up there a couple of examples, 10%, 20% bracket. You can figure out where you are. The other option is stock transfer. My guess is a few of you have stock. The pastor's meeting here recently, he asked about Berkshire Hathaway. How many people have Berkshire Hathaway stock? A couple of us, maybe. If you want to get rid of that, feel free, okay? But if you have any stock that you bought at one price, it's now worth much more. You can avoid the taxes by making the stock transfer directly to the church. And Cindy can give you the details on how to do that. Other tools being considered that we'll give you more details on is an endowment funding. I'd love to see the church have an endowment fund where we would have a block of money, and the only thing we would be able to touch in that money would be the income off of it to help with annual expenses or special needs, however it's set up. But if we had a $100,000 endowment, we can get at least $5,000 a year revenue or income that would be either then added to the principal or spendable. Annuity is another option. Some of you have probably seen the TV ads and so forth, but could you buy an annuity through the Senate that would provide you income while you're alive, and then the balance would be transferred to the church at your death. So we're going to look at those options. Okay, what's the key? If you think you're interested in any of those discussions, give Cindy a call, send her an email, grab her after church, whatever, but do it early, because it all requires paperwork, and I know how we all love paperwork, and submitting it early and getting it done before the year ends. Reminder for private members, full members can issue up to two $250 gifts a year to be used to help offset costs for different events like the Oktoberfest or something else. Just a reminder that you can do that. Associate members can do one gift of $250. Then members also have choice dollars available, and choice dollars can be designated to the church as well. And if you have questions on that, again, contact us. Cindy. Questions? Okay. Remember, this is our church. We're in it, not the building. We've got a great pastor. He's not the church. It's all of us. Door is bigger than a lock is bigger than a key, but it's the small key that opens the whole house. This reminds us, even the smallest step or idea can solve a big problem. So whether it's cutting the grass, or you've got some other idea that you think you can share, tell us, okay? Any member of council, feel free to give me a call, send me a text, send me an email, whatever you want to do. But if you don't share it, I'm probably not going to think of it. So feel free to share the ideas. Okay, we're at a point of questions. And we got one question ahead of time. And Wilma's going to cover that. And then if anybody else has any questions, we'll go through them.
Well, what's the question?
The question was, can we change the way the membership or the attendance records are handled on Sunday morning?
Say again.
I got an email that was complaining that it was the way we were currently doing it was disruptive to worship. The worship team talked about it, council talked about it, took our recommendation, and after a lot of discussion, both team-wise and council-wise, we decided that the best solution, the most realistic solution, was to get new binders that don't match the service book. what happens a lot is, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just telling you what happens. It gets to the end of the row, they sign it, and they lay it on the service book on the seat in front of them. So now the usher has to look for it.
Sometimes they put it under the service book, which
Yeah.
really makes it.
Which really makes it rough. So what we are doing, what we have done, is that we decided to change. We needed new books anyway. So we're changing and we're getting blue books. Because they'll stand out if they're laid on a red book, the blue will stand out. But it won't change how we're handing them out and picking them up. Anybody got questions?
Okay.
Okay.
There's one part I'm assuming that book is for is to say how many people are attending. Well, we could get that by just counting the people.
And who is attending.
Okay, but what else is it used for?
Well, if you count the people versus the books, the number's not always the same.
Not only that.
Yeah, but the count is true.
But you don't have.
If the count is one number,
Each Tuesday morning, the first thing I do is I look at the guest register. And then I look at the pew registers. And oftentimes, people who are visitors will put information in the pew register and no information there. So it's kind of a check and balance. And the name of the game for me in connecting with visitors is contact information. And that's why it is critically important that anybody that's serving as a greeter do the very best they can to encourage the visitor to provide contact information. Example, this morning there were 2 visitors who arrived late. Suzanne did a great job of encountering them and providing them with a copy of the brochure, and then I talked to them and asked them, you know, if you would provide us your contact information, we'd be happy to include you in our weekly email information so that you can be much more up to speed as to what's going on here. And she says, oh, that'd be wonderful, we'll do it right now. So trying to get contact information is crucial for us to optimize the information that we would love to have on visitors so that we can follow up. When we can follow up, we have a higher percentage of return visits than if we don't. And if we can follow up, it's one more example of how welcoming and inviting this place is. I've had any number of people tell me over the years that we've never encountered a church that was this welcoming. We've never had the experience of a pastor contacting us directly because we visited a church. So that's why we do this with this information. Plus, the other thing is if we don't see your names, then we start to wonder, is something going on? Are they ill, hospitalized, and we just don't know it? So there's a multiple series of informations that are valuable to us
that we're only going to get from the registers.
From these documents, which, you know, reminds me, I should probably from time to time say, please fill in the registers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the one question we had ahead of time. Yes.
Cindy's got a question.
No, Cindy?
Over there. There's a question over
Okay.
there.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of us sometimes don't get to even see the books, or if I'm playing, I never have time to sign it.
We write your name.
Royce doesn't know it, but we all
Ryder fills her in.
There's a story that brings that home to me.
We know when you're not
At
here.
our church in Cleveland, my husband is pastor.
I'm sure the choir will handle it.
He only communed twice, he was only there twice a year. Because no one filled his name in, I was busy.
Well, does anybody put Pastor Don's name in? I guess there's no. Yes, Dan?
Just as a note, on the sign-in sheets today, there were 77 names, there's 81 people in church. So those numbers don't match up.
Right.
And they very seldom ever do. But every time we hand the book, soon to be blue book, to a guest or new person, we ask them, would you like to fill this out? They always say yes, and they grab it and start filling it in. But I don't know if they always do it at the greeter desk.
Right.
But they do when we hand it to them, because we ask them, would you please fill this out?
We're trying to do things with the greeters desk. I mean,
But I'm
it's
just saying,
been
they
a
want to know if the
historical
numbers
issue.
match up, they don't.
Well, sometimes people come in a different way too.
Right.
Yeah.
In this yard.
Go ahead, Royce.
We have a lot of vehicles to, you impressed? To take care of new people. But I miss a lot of people who have been here and aren't here anymore. And we need to, I think, make as big an effort to keep them here and let them know that we love them and want them back here as much as we want the new people. Because we can get the new people in, but then if they go away, you know, we're just looking for new people. We need to take care of our members as much as new people like we do.
Yeah, and that's the reason you saw on the slides that we're going to look at what do we do with the Shepherd program. We're either revitalizing it or replacing it to try to do that. We recognize that's a major issue. Any other questions? Feel free.
Yep.
I'm wondering if it's feasible for us to see the weekly budget each week in the bulletin. I don't want to put more work on people. What I'm saying is, if we take, how much do we need each week to run the church? How much did we take in each week? What is our difference? Now, do we see this on a weekly budget?
It's in the newsletter.
It's in the well, what's in the newsletter is monthly.
And it's
The answer to your question is, no, we're not going to start doing weekly budget reports. Okay, it's way too much work, and it's not fair to Mary and her.
And the expenses aren't even.
Yeah, and the
Sometimes
expenses-
once a year.
Yeah.
You know, the insurance is once a year, so.
So it would give you false, and people donate it quarterly, or so it would give you false information, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, when I get my email from Mary, it usually is pretty evident what we've given and what for the week, and so if I'm not, I'm.
Well, that's backwards looking too.
Yeah, I
You
know.
So I
But
can see
the
that.
fact remains that it's still
We've been
there.
at churches that
If you go on email, if you have an email, not everybody has email, I understand that.
have reported what the offering is each week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
could,
but
we
it
could
doesn't
do, we
show
could do
the
that if you want, if you think that'll be helpful, is report what the offering is each week. But again, that number is gonna change, because I know that in talking to Cindy and looking at it over the couple of years, is that
Very irregular.
very irregular. People
Oh, yeah.
donate once a month, once a quarter,
Right.
twice a year. Yeah.
Once a year.
And the people that donated on, you know, through, online, it's not gonna show up every week, you know, in the
Yeah.
plate.
Right, exactly. So it's, I mean, we could do it, but I don't know that it would really be helpful. I'll bring it up in council and see what they decide to do. And it's worth discussing. Any other questions, ideas? Gary?
Before the retreat, I was just wondering if it would be good, or if it's been discussed, again, have some sort of priorities coming from the congregation rather than just the leaders
Okay.
of the retreat.
We could certainly ask for ideas to come forward. That's kind of what I'm asking you to do now, is that, you know, please provide them to the council.
Okay.
Any member, okay? Send it to Emily, if you just want to send it to the office, send it to me, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever you submit, we will review at the retreat. Because we're asking the council to come up with ideas too, what can we do? Because I don't have all the ideas. But we're going to try to come up with some different ones that we can use. Yes?
If you submitted an idea, include the cost. Don't just say, let's do this. Include the cost, or else it
If you know what the
isn't going to
cost
help
is.
when we're trying to figure out
Yeah.
money-wise if it works.
Stan?
Well, I was just gonna say, you have to submit it to the team leaders.
Yeah, team leaders, I mean.
Liaisons of the board of council levels, you'll have that.
Yeah.
Every team has a leader, talk to them.
But not everybody's in a team.
No, I mean, but I guess what I would say, and we can certainly make the announcement, I would encourage every member, if they got an idea, submit it to the office, submit it to any council member, and we'll get it there.
Would it be helpful, I don't even know who all the team leaders are. Should that maybe be in a weekly newsletter, just so we know who the people are for the teams?
Yeah, we can do that.
Or could it go up on the website? Would it be a place to just?
Put it out there for everyone. Well, and part of the issue is, when Emily sends out the email, how many get opened? Percentage?
52 to 60%.
Okay, so 50 to 60% of you are actually opening the email. And I'd be willing to bet that out of that number, everybody's not reading the entire email. So, part of the communication is we've got to get better at looking at the stuff. Okay, any other questions? With that, I want to thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all the input. And please feel free to add anything else along the way as you come up with it. Thank you.